The courtroom was electric, buzzing with an almost palpable tension as the gavel slammed down. Judge Harold Winthrop, known for his no-nonsense demeanor and razor-sharp tongue, glared at Karoline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, who sat confidently at the defendant's table. This was not where the press secretary was usually found. She was accustomed to commanding press briefings, not standing trial. Yet here she was, facing a $50,000 contempt fine for allegedly refusing to comply with a federal subpoena related to a highly sensitive White House scandal. But before we dive into what happens next, I'd love to know, where are you tuning in from today? Drop a comment below and please like the video. Thank you. Miss Leavitt, Judge Winthrop said, his voice echoing through the room. Do you have anything to say for yourself before I impose this fine? Karoline stood, her expression calm but with a spark of defiance in her eyes. Your Honor, she began, her voice steady, with all due respect, this proceeding is fundamentally flawed, and the fine you're proposing is baseless. I intend to prove it. A ripple of murmurs spread across the courtroom. The audacity of it. Who did she think she was? A press secretary challenging a federal judge on his own turf? Judge Winthrop smirked. Miss Leavitt, you're not in a briefing room now. This is my courtroom, and I suggest you tread carefully. You're already on thin ice. Unmoved by his warning, Karoline opened her briefcase and retrieved a thick binder. The crowd watched in stunned silence as she flipped through pages of meticulously organized documents. Your Honor, she said, holding up a highlighted section of the subpoena. The language used here is overly broad, violating the federal rules of civil procedure under Rule 26. Moreover, the scope of this subpoena directly infringes upon executive privilege as outlined in United States v. Nixon *. Shall I continue? Winthrop froze for a moment, caught off guard. His courtroom had seen its share of bold defendants, but none had ever come prepared to debate him on legal principles. He cleared his throat. Miss Leavitt, this isn't a seminar. The issue here is your refusal to comply. Karoline didn't flinch. Refusal, Your Honor? Or lawful objection? There's a significant difference, as I'm sure you know. The subpoena in question demanded documents that don't exist in the format requested. I filed a formal objection within the allotted time frame, citing Rule 34. If you review the docket, you'll see that my response was not only timely, but legally sound. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Journalists in the gallery furiously typed on their laptops. This was no ordinary defense. This was a masterclass in legal strategy, delivered by someone who wasn't even a practicing attorney. The judge, visibly irritated, tried to regain control. Miss Leavitt, this court doesn't have time for theatrics. Karoline raised an eyebrow. Neither do I, Your Honor. Shall we proceed to the portion where I cite case law that invalidates the basis of this fine? By now, even the opposing counsel looked uneasy. Karoline Leavitt was dismantling the judge's position piece by piece, and there was nothing anyone could do to stop her. Over the next hour, Karoline turned the courtroom into her own arena. She quoted obscure precedents, dissected procedural errors, and even pointed out a conflict of interest in one of the judge's previous rulings related to executive privilege. At one point, the judge interrupted her. Enough, he barked. This is not your platform to grandstand. Karoline met his gaze. It's not grandstanding, Your Honor. It's ensuring that justice is served, not based on intimidation, but on the rule of law. The tension in the room was unbearable. The judge looked at his clerk, who handed him a note. He read it, his face growing pale. Miss Leavitt, he said finally, his tone subdued, it seems you've made your point. The fine is rescinded. However, I will need time to review the additional arguments you've presented. Karoline nodded. Take all the time you need, Your Honor. I'm confident you'll reach the correct conclusion. As she gathered her things, the room remained silent. The judge, once towering and authoritative, now looked smaller somehow, as though the weight of Karoline's brilliance had pushed him into his chair. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed Karoline for a statement. She smiled and said, I'm just doing my job, defending the truth, whether it's in the briefing room or the courtroom. By the time the evening news aired, Karoline Leavitt wasn't just a press secretary anymore. She was a legend, a legal genius who had stared down a federal judge and emerged victorious. Social media exploded with hashtags like #Leavitt the Legend and #LegalGenius, and some even began to speculate. Had the White House underestimated the depths of her talents? In the days that followed, legal scholars dissected her arguments, and law students studied the courtroom transcript like scripture. Judge Winthrop, once untouchable, faced increasing scrutiny for his handling of the case. Meanwhile, Karoline returned to her duties at the White House, unbothered and unshaken, knowing she had not only defended herself, but had also reminded everyone that true power lies in knowledge and preparation. The scandal that had threatened to derail her career was now a badge of honor. Karoline Leavitt had proven that she was far more than just the voice of the administration. She was a force to be reckoned with, both in politics and in the courtroom.